I came into a manufacturing or to a procurement side, where I have to develop the vendors to get the parts ready for those old machines. That's how I transformed into a procurement. I remember way back in 2002, 2003, I was creating purchase order manually by writing on the forms. And from there to now, it's entirely e-procurement. There's a lot of transformation. But I believe the new generation who is coming in this procurement field are tech savvy, and they are habitual for a lot of e-procurement on daily basis. While I say e-procurement, there are a lot of apps like Amazon, Flipkart. They used to buy things day in, day out. So correct. And these people are more prone to work electronically rather than orthodox method, with the old school method, going to the shop and taking the things. In last 2 years, there is a massive change happened because of the pandemic. People learn how to buy the things electronically, and there is no limit, even from small kids to the older people. Everybody is now working electronically to buy the things. That's how it's the e-procurement. I don't see e-procurement is a challenge to the industry. It is an advantage to the industry going forward, to leverage faster procurement part and to help the industry in the faster growth of the industry. I want to take a pause here, because this is what I want to communicate. The transformation, though, from older version to the new e-procurement, it's an advantage for the industry. It is my opinion. Over to you. Thanks.
Yes, but okay, I'd stay with that, and I'll come with my questions later on.
Sure.
For now, I'll move to Mahesh for his opening comments.
So I did that.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Jaswinder, my bad.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, good morning. So let me also start with where do I start my journey from? So I started my journey way back in '97 when I joined fresh from college to Daewoo Motors, and I joined a department called Vendor Development Department, right? And then I moved to DLJM, which is a manufacturing. Then I joined a department called purchasing. Then I moved to LG, and I joined a department called e-sourcing. Then I joined Vodafone. Then I joined supply chain. Then Big and Tata. I am here in procurement. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is that in past 24 years, I have worked with 6 companies and 5 different departments, so to say. But in a way, they are same. So it is not that there is one clear definition for supply chain for everybody. So it depends based on what business you are into. It keeps varying from business to business. I enjoyed my journey throughout in all the different sectors put together. And I really relished working with all of these companies. And each sector has got its own ways of working, right? So when I start from automobile manufacturing and LG experience, when I see to it, so they are very, very process-oriented companies. When it comes to manufacturing, it's all very well written down process. Everything is in black and white. Every situation is clearly defined. But similarly, when I moved from these manufacturing industries to a telco, which is Vodafone, and back 14 years back, the telco was in a rush to cover as much as market possible. So there was, and that too with having no written down process, with no guidelines. The race was to go to new town, put an antenna and make it running. So in those scenarios, digitization was just starting in terms of procurement. And that was the first time when I tried to put something in place in Vodafone. But organization goal was to cover as much as landmass as possible. So we went with the flow there. And now when I moved to Tata's Play, it is not a choice that we whether to go to digital world or not. It is a mandatory thing that if you want to exist and you want to sustain yourself coming 5 to 10 years, I was reading one of the report that BCG said the companies which will not do the analysis to the depth to the very, very deep analysis, they will not be able to survive more than 5 to 7 years. And if you are not on a digital platform, there is no way you will be able to collate and analyze the data available. I also started my journey with purchase order, which were like handwritten during Devo Motors time. But today, I have not taken any print in last 3 years. And not because of pandemic. Even before pandemic, we were not taking any print. So there is no document. Everything is digital as far as Tata Play is concerned. And this has to be considered in conjunction with what industry you are. So the level of adoption of e-procurement tools will depend on the level of which industry you are and what is the organizational goal, what is the industry goal, so to say. And accordingly, everyone has to adapt e-procurement in one way or other. That's my broader take on e-procurement.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it. And you're more talking about it also depends on which industry you are and what's the status of digitization and rate of acceptance. All right. Sanjay, opening comments from you, please.
Okay. Thanks all for sharing your thoughts. My journey has been that I started my career with sales in 95. And after that, I joined an e-procurement startup in 2000. So when people were talking about procurement, I joined India Markets, which was an e-procurement startup started by a guy who came from US. He saw the trends there. We had a tie-up with Ariba that time, the only e-commerce company, e-procurement company that time, other than Commerce One. Commerce One was also there and Ariba was there. There were two companies. Couple of others were there, but they were smaller. Ariba was also Ariba was known as free markets that time. Rather, Ariba acquired free markets. So join that time. There were a lot of the interesting part is that people were still listening to us. We did the e-procurement for Maruti. We did for a few of Birla companies. We did for SAIL. We did for Tata Steel. Later, SAIL and Tata Steel, they started their own venture in e-procurement. But in India Markets, we did that in 2000. So very interesting journey, I think, but we were ahead of time that time in 2000. The bandwidth was not available. We had our own offices for people to come and put their bids online, but still it did not work too well. I was there for 3 years. Then I joined a few other companies, Alcoa, Corning, all global companies, NTT, Unilever, and now with Diebold. Diebold is manufacturing ATM equipments. And when the ATM journey started, though I'm just less than 2 years with Diebold, when the ATM journey started, then also people had the perception that this might not work. How come that my money is just lying in the machine and anybody can just take a card, go there and take the money out? But that's now become a way of life. I have not visited my branch. I don't remember when did I go to my branch. Other than that it's some compliance or something that I have to go there. I have to be photographed or I have to sign on some document which is required by compliance. On my own, I have not been to any branch. So this is so that's ATM is another way of getting your money from the bank. I'm still getting my money from the bank from my account, but it's another way. E-procurement is another way of an advanced digital way of doing the procurement, which is a better way, informed way. You can take decision, you can analyze that. It's a very real-time thing. It got a lot of predictive analytics built into that. So it's a way of interacting with the suppliers, which is more cost efficient, which is more productive, and which has better reach, and which is a win-win situation for supplier and buyer both. As a buyer, I have access to more suppliers, and suppliers have access to more buyers. So the trend will remain. We thought in 2000 also that trend will remain, and it has remained. I have worked with different organizations, aluminum company, glass company, even with British Council and education company, NTT Telecom, Unilever, FMCG. But one trend has remained constant that I have always used e-sourcing starting from 2000 in different organizations. The platforms have changed, the volumes have changed, but the trend has remained the same and it is on the increasing side.
Okay. Emphasizing more on the trend aspect, I'd want to move on to Amitabh initially. You have spent about more than 34 years, if I'm not wrong, in the industry already. And you've seen it all, from traditional procurement to the announcement of e-procurement, to the acceptance of e-procurement, and then to the impact of e-procurement. So can you, for our audience, summarize what has been the transition like? And at a personal level, how comfortable are you? Are you more comfortable today, wherein you have to rely more on algorithms and systems and technologies? Or as a procurement professional, were you more comfortable back then, wherein what we could call, was there a drama of individual decision making?
Right. Thanks, Rizu. So, if I may give a one-liner, it would be, I am much more confident and comfortable now than it was long back. And there are reasons for
Strong statement.
Yeah. And there are reasons for that. So, first and foremost reason I would say is, in manual activities, there is immense amount of human element involved. And in a commercial transaction, more and more human, transactions or human-led transactions, lead to more and more errors or probability of errors. Okay. However, when it comes to more algorithm-based, transactions, certainly there are much better checks and balances built in the system to eliminate such human errors as they might come. So that's a big, big relief to the procurement leaders of today's times, I would say, compared to what we saw 20 years or 25 years back. That's point number one. Point number two is efficiency. See, efficiency is something which it has, improved multiple folds from those days to today. And the reason being that even if I had to use a calculator to actually, do the tabulation, it would take much more time than the today's tools, which automatically gives me that table. So I'm just giving a very small example to just, substantiate the point how efficiency has improved. Manually, preparing RFQs or tenders and sending it by mail, and what I mean by mail, I mean, today's generation would never think, the least they would think mail is an email. Okay. But this was mail by post. Okay. So those were the times, and all the, tenders would come by post and they would get opened manually. So I've seen from those days, okay, today, and then came the era of emails, okay, which kind of made the postages cycle time, crashed it. But today's times, the entire thing is on a e-procurement platform. The tenders are going to the panel on an e-procurement platform. The quotations are coming on an e-procurement platform. There is complete transparency in the entire process. This gives a huge amount of comfort, transparency, as well as huge efficiency, I would say. The third and the last thing that I would talk about is the final negotiation skills. Okay, a guy of those times, a purchase manager of those times, preparing for a negotiation would have to do long exercise with his calculator, on paper, maybe on Excel later. But today, there are tools which are available to actually give the entire background of all the panel that has quoted, the entire data history, the entire pricing information, etc. Everything comes out from the digital tool. So that has created a great confidence in the purchase managers to do the negotiations. much better. These are some of the things which I would like to share, how I feel more comfortable and confident.
See, this is a person who's spent his life in procurement. This is how he feels about the overall transformation. But let's take a pause and understand how is procurement still very attractive as a profession for people who are just beginning. Back then, we've had a lot of personal influence. We would talk about influence. You mentioned that tenders would come and you'll have to open it and then do your own research and kind of understanding and put in a lot of gut feeling into what is right and what is wrong. So as a professional, as an executive, you were more important than what the system has made you today. So looking at that perspective, how would you want an aspirant who's establishing his career in procurement today to feel about the overall transformation? Let's not talk about us who are already established in the profession, but for somebody who has now options and is trying to make a decision that whether I should go into a career in procurement or should I explore different avenues. So what's that one message that you want to give to those people? And I want to hear this from each one of you.
Yeah, so let me tell you one thing, Resume, which is something which I saw even 10 years back. Okay, the procurement professionals used to have a very high volume of transactions which they had to do, and these transactions were not exciting them in any way. Okay, the procurement professionals, coming from these schools and doing transactions on Excel and other platforms, and doing a lot of work, manual kind of work. And I call it manual because, I mean, in today's times, anything to work on Excel is also manual. That's how I look at it. Okay.
Yes.
But today's procurement professionals have so much time because all the transactions are managed through digital tools, through RPAs and other such tools, the remote process automation, etc. They have so much time to actually do strategic thinking about procurement, about applying analytics in their decision making, to bring in more and more of digitalization in their process. It has really become much more exciting for procurement professionals of today's times than what I saw 10 years back. And believe me, Resume, this is not something which I am saying. I'm coming from echoing many of the youngsters who are joining the procurement profession today in our team. They are saying this thing compared to the guys who actually joined 10 years back.
Okay, so summarizing your message is, given 8 hours to chop down a tree, people today in procurement can spend 6 hours sharpening the axe.
Exactly.
All right. Mahesh, your comments, please.
Yeah, sure. I think Amitav have articulated well all the elements, and I echo what Amitav said. To add on, see what I feel. So for us who started the journey 3 decades back, there was a lot of learning we have to do ourselves to come to the pace of e-procurement. But for the people who are entering now, they are already tech savvy. They are already they're handling a lot of gadgets. For them to learn the e-procurement module is something very easy than what we had a journey for the learning of the e-procurement. So ultimately procurement is something process and skill. So if they learn how to speak, how to listening and judgmental is something most important skill that is required. So the people who are entering into procurement and those who are tech savvy and those who are prone for e-procurement, it's an easy journey for them than what we went through. Is what I want to communicate.
Okay. Jaswinder, your views, please.
Yeah. So I think Amitava covered the ground very well, and it has been covered by Mahesh further. I will say, I will add to that by saying a couple of things. When I look at my journey, the last 10 years, the traction of supply chain and procurement has gone manifold as compared to last 20 years. And over and above that, the last 2 years of pandemic has actually put supply chain and procurement team to the spotlight, right? So today, I think earlier a common man, when I joined my first job, in my appointment letter, it was written of Dev Motors, VDD. I was even not aware what VDD is. So I asked one of my friends, what is VDD? He said, Vendor Development Department. I said, what is vendor? He said, I don't know what is vendor. So today, when you go to a common man, they understand, okay, there is something called supply chain, there is something called procurement. So it has come to the limelight very much in last 2 years. And for last, I think, 5 to 10 years, the supply chain is becoming very, very critical component in the organization. And they are now being heard very seriously into the boardrooms. I have a very simple formula, because the formula of profit, it says selling price minus cost price. Now, no organization, unless until you are monopolistic into the monopolistic industry, can decide their selling price. Always selling price is defined by market. So what your competitor is selling, you can sell maybe 0.1% costlier than your competitor, but not beyond that. So selling price is fixed. So if any organization has to make any profit, it is the cost. That is the most important element for organization. And this has been understood by industries now, because earlier there was a runway of field, like when I joined Vodafone, the agenda was just to put tower and make the city live and you get business. It's no more there. The run is over. Now for organization to make profit, the only way is to cut the cost. And if you have to cut the cost, you have to listen to the guy, what procurement guy is saying, how they are behaving, what is their output. If I save $1, I think you yesterday said that yes, $1 saved is equal to 5x of the sale. That's what actually comes out of it. So today, SCM is becoming the limelight. And as Amitabh said, today's procurement professional does not have to slog down to get the Excel sheet done, make the templates, make some written formats. All that mundane job is actually taken care by technology. Bots are running, AI is working, P2P tools are working. So everything is being done. And if you want to take a snapshot of different scenarios, you just put this scenario in the tool and it will give you output that this is how it will behave if you don't work in such fashion. What will be the implication of this change? So all those are readily available. Now, it is very easy for supply chain guys to focus on the cost. Second important element that is there is supply chain is a function which has access to each and every department internally. When I am at the center, I engage with my call center guy, I engage with my sales, I engage with my field, I engage with my legal, I engage with my finance. So by virtue of engagement with each and every department, you get the in-depth knowledge of each and every department. As a whole, you have a huge opportunity to understand overall business. So that's another advantage being in a profession of supply chain and procurement is.
Sorry, I've met a couple of CEOs recently, and we were trying to, so as competitors, we are a procurement edtech organization, and we have onboarded many procurement departments as a whole to train them, and more to train them than to build their capability as a department, right? So all of them are at the same level. So one of these CEOs, he did not intend to say this, and I wouldn't name, but then he ended up saying is that, if we hear about procurement, it means that there's some problem. They do not want to hear about procurement. And there was this chief procurement officer saying that, we have reported this much cost. And he said that if you've done so, where is that cost reflecting in my budget? Because it's not there, right? So you've mentioned about taking costs out of supply chain. So I'd want to flip this question to Sanjay and ask you that, initially, what we've seen is we as procurement leaders, when we try and take costs out of supply chain, we do not take cost out of supply chain, but we shift the cost from one party to other. For example, in a vision to kind of take costs out of supply chain, we reach out to another party, maybe a supplier, and we ask them, and what he hears is that, why don't you squeeze your profits down so that I can report more cost saving? So do you think in any way e-procurement will help us drive cost out of supply chain, or we still continue to move costs up and down?
Resume, very interesting conversation, and Jaswinder, Amitava, and Mahesh have covered it well. I just want to add just two things before answering your question. One, procurement professional, as a procurement professional, he or she is a very knowledgeable person in the organization about different products and services which organization is buying. Today, I am buying insurance. Yesterday, I was buying castings. I am buying technology products. I am buying technology services. I am buying professional services. So I understand all the dynamics of different products and different services and different industries. The industries change, but the calculation, the analysis, the way of strategic thinking, that remains the same for a procurement professional. Second point I want to add is that even technology procurement, now that's also being handled by procurement people. It did not used to be the trend, I will say at least 6 years back. And I myself have negotiated on my own Microsoft global contracts for global organizations as large as entity, multiple $1 million contracts, the Microsofts, the Cisco's, all those contracts being driven by procurement, and not an IT just supporting that discussion, because IT, they are not much bothered about the budget. They are just bothered about, I'm saying not much bothered about. It's not that they are not cost conscious, but not much bothered about, because that's not their KRA. Their KRA is that organization has to run smoothly. But procurement KRA, I have only one KRA to bring the cost down. I don't have any other KRA. If I have to summarize everything into one thing, everything else is working towards that goal. My top goal in any of the organization will be bring X% of savings to the organization. Now coming to your question, Rizum, that with the e-procurement, it is making it more transparent. Now I am making the whole supply chain more transparent. I'm saying, I'm going to my suppliers that, okay, I can help you buy better. So that was our motto has been in a few organizations, that whatever you are buying, we can help you buy better. If you buy better, you can sell better. That means I can buy better. So we can help you in buying better. We have done that e-procurement sometimes for when we were buying packaging goods. We have done the reverse auction for paper for our suppliers also. We did that okay, these paper companies, they will be supplying to our suppliers also, and from suppliers we will be buying. So it is improving the whole supply chain. It is not about squeezing or anything. It is that I just squeeze the supplier. Tomorrow, then he will be out of business. I have to think about the whole supply chain, that he keeps on supplying to me and he has to make money. If he does not make money, he will be out of business. If he's out of business, then my cost is going to increase anyway. Either I have to look for a new supplier, develop a new supplier, all that efforts and all the lot of indirect costs which are involved with this, which you mentioned, while I'm changing a supplier. There are a lot of finance costs. There is a lot of compliance costs, legal costs, which are involved when I'm changing a supplier or when I'm adding a supplier. So it is not in my benefit also that I keep on doing that every day, or I keep on squeezing my supplier. E-procurement is bringing the whole transparency in the whole chain, that I help my suppliers also, that they buy better, they sell better, I buy better, I sell better. We have to make sure that how we remove the redundancy or wastage out of the whole system. So it's not about that squeezing anybody. Everybody has to earn their margin. They have to be in the business, but let's be transparent and fair, which e-procurement does in a very smart way.
Yes, and it is also about how procurement as a department is perceived inside your organization. So before I move on to next question, and my question is to you, Amitava, I want you to think about how people plan for other professions apart from procurement. For example, people, if they plan to be in accounting, marketing, insurance, or even finance, they all of these professions have a degree, right? And people, they architect a plan, a career plan to be in those divisions, right? And they develop skills that are necessary to kind of manage uh, the jobs that they are being preparing for. But that's exactly what has not been happening in procurement since the inception of the profession, right? And people in procurement, they started their careers with a completely different education and no master plan, right? And if most of us were lucky, then we came in with degrees in business economics or engineering, which obviously is very useful in procurement jobs. But I have found the rare few who think they studied procurement often mostly studied logistics, right? So if and most of us are not lucky, so we have not prepared for procurement at all. And I've said it most of the times that 97% of people I meet, uh, all of them, they say that they landed into this profession by accident, right? All of them, almost 99.99%, if I should increase that number. Now, and as a consequence, these people were trained who themselves landed in procurement by accident and had X number of years. Should I say, like we were discussing yesterday, 30 years experience, 1 year experience 30 times, right? Now, my question to you is that with such informal education, what advice do you have? That what are the most important skills required to manage the modern e-procurement process? What are those 5-6 areas that you'd want our audience to really hold their hands strong, excel around, that can really help them get more performance results? Again, I want to add, with the lack of a proper training institution, where do they go for such advice, and what do they really develop?
So, Rizum, you've really touched one aspect which I've been always talking about. And that is, of course, I can't say that, there is no, let's say in a B school, we have a specialization in marketing. We have a specialization in operations. We have a
Yes.
specialization in many other fields, but there is no specialization in procurement. They are part of the operations team. They're part of the operations specialization. So much so, there is a small, I would say curriculum in operations, but it is mostly to do with supply chain. There is hardly any case study in operations on procurement. It's all about supply chain and logistics. So that is how the procurement as a skill or as a qualification is being treated currently in the academia, so to say. Now, personally, I believe it needs to change. Okay. And so much so, let me share with you that I have taken it upon myself along with a, senior professor of operations in supply chain in XLR to write a case study on procurement, so that the guys who are coming out of these schools at least have one exposure of a case study related to procurement. But having said that, let us understand what is the specialization that one should have in the procurement function. In my opinion, it is all about multi-skilling. It is not to do about any focused procurement skills, so to say. The best skill that comes closest to the procurement function is the negotiation skills. Okay? And quite frankly, as I say, and it's a saying that human beings are born with negotiation skills. From the time they are born, babies know how to extract milk when they are small babies by crying aloud. They know how to extract, toys and other things from their parents when, they are toddlers and beyond. Negotiation is a way of life for all of us. But yes, there are specialized negotiation skills that one needs to have in business. And that is the skill which I think comes closest to it. In today's times, in my understanding, a procurement, professional actually can come from a academic qualification of a data analyst also. A good data analyst can also become a good procurement professional. In today's times, with all the digital and analytics, which kind of is pumped into the procurement function today. Okay. So where I'm coming from is that whether it is technical, skills, technical background, technical experience, whether it is negotiation skills, whether it is data analytics skills. So it is a multi-skilled, function today, and probably it will call for a absolutely specialized, stream in a B school. If at all any B school decides that we would like to churn out procurement professionals, so that would be my, my thought process around this question.
Very well explained. Mahesh, your views, please.
Yeah, I agree with Amitava. So basically, there are few organizations who are working on this front for creating a educational background or education stream for procurement and supply chain.
Oh, you're talking about competitors' view.
Yeah, it might be, but so there are few business B schools who are working on the supply chain. Like a Symbiosis have started a supply chain management program, but they are more focusing on logistic part and supply chain overall, not as the procurement per se. I believe IIMM is also working on procurement enhancement courses. So but there are a lot of limitations, and there are very few organizations who are working on this particular part. I completely understand there is a need to develop these platforms in all management schools where people can learn and come to the organization with the ready skills. But having said that, as Amitava said in the beginning, so people has to work in the business first before they go into a procurement professional. So like Sanjay said sometime back, we have to switch over various functions, correct? We have to work with various functions. They have to work with legal, we have to work with the business, they have to work with the finance, they have to work with the HR, everybody, because procurement people will be working for all the organizations, all departments in the organizations. They have to have a skill for all the areas. They cannot have expertise in all the areas, but they should know what is happening in the company, what is the need of the company. That's where they have to learn everything. So in my opinion, like other streams like a marketing or sales or HR, they need to work in the business and then they have to grow in that particular fraternity. Similarly, the case with the procurement. Procurement has to work in the business, and then if they go into procurement stream, they will work better and they will understand the business better. Unless and until the procurement guy know that what is the pain point of the user, they will not be able to get the things done as per the requirement, right? That's the reason they have to learn first and then they have to come into procurement. So I believe the people who came to a procurement fraternity by accident are doing better than what they originally learn and come to the procurement stream.
So I'd want to add something here. This is our internal survey, and I think we're revealing for the first time here is I said that 97 to 99% of people land into this profession by accident. Let me want to add something. Out of those 97, 99%, 95+% people stay in procurement.
Yes.
Once they come in, they do not go out. And that is a very strong statement. It means that procurement as a profession is very lucrative. You know, I feel it's very sexy in terms of you're kind of in a job, and it's way better than sales. You know, you have somebody's money and you're shopping, right?
Exactly.
If we have to go to youth and tell them that this is a profession you should definitely consider and not sales, it is something that obviously you have so much authority when you walk into a vendor's premise, or just as a layman language, you're spending on behalf of company, right? So buying and is way better than trying to sell. So right, you're absolutely right.
And the most important skill which I want to point out here is the switching over from one subject to other subject. So Sanjay was saying, so in a day we are handling around almost 10 to 15 subjects, because for example, now if I'm handling for the housekeeping vendor, for the next hour I will be handling with the Microsoft deal. For the next deal I will be doing for the office renovation or new office construction. So it is a multi-level, multi-skill thing that we have to learn, and switching over from one subject to other subject is something most important part or most important skill somebody has to adopt while working in the procurement.
Sanjay, your views, top 3 skills, anything that you'd want to list down for the people who are watching us?
So I will, if I have time, I will give 2 examples, but I'll take just 1 minute for 2 examples. One is a real example. I was in sales in 99. One vendor gave me the PO. He had to give me a PO for 1,000 items to be used for 3 months. And I was working with a packaging company, ITW, world's, one of the largest packaging company, Fortune 500 company in India. And they printed the handwritten order for 10,000 items, and which was to be used over 30 months. Needless to say that we got our payment in about 18 to 24 months, which had to be given because they said that they can't use the material in 2.5 years, and this was customized for them, printed for them, customized for them. And there was a mistake of a purchase assistant or purchase manager, that instead of 1,000 he wrote 10,000 in numbers, and our factory did that. So that's one thing. That's a real example. Second, to answer your question on skills, also resume that this thing will answer that. One office manager saw that there's a truck lying outside his office and it has window frames, and he was wondering that he did not order for any renovation thing or anything, but why is the truck lying outside with window frames? And then he realized he had ordered for Windows 98, and the purchase manager, who did not understand what that Windows 98 is, he ordered 98 Windows frames, and they came to his office. So this is not a real incident, but this is a one thing. So as a procurement person, as Mahesh was saying, that we need to have at least the knowledge and understanding that what question do we ask from the stakeholder. Example, I'm sitting on a chair, everybody of us is sitting. If my office manager, my admin people say that they want to buy chairs, I have to understand that how to ask the questions. What kind of chair are they looking for? Boardroom, or for what is the size of a chair? Is this revolving? Is this not revolving? With wheels, without wheels? Adjustable, not adjustable? I have to understand and visualize that what goes into a chair. Are they looking for some specific brand? At least I have to ask the right questions for them to give the right answers. In their mind, they are very clear. They are looking for a revolving chair sitting in a boardroom, or for his personal cabin, that MD is looking for a chair. And he will assume that I know that everything, but I won't know that. So I have to ask the right questions. I have to be skillful in that. I don't have to know all the things, but I have to be analytical and logical in asking the right questions. That's very, very important. Second is the second thing. Second thing is that how do I put that requirements into the practical thing? That is how do I buy that? Where the negotiation, e-procurement, all the process will come into picture. Negotiation, because we are using that department's money, all that will come into picture. And third thing, again, very, very important, is the intent or the willingness to learn new things. Coming to first thing, if you don't know about chair, there's no harm in asking that. In an organization, people are supportive. I can ask that. I have learned that the way. First time when I have learned from my vendors, I have learned from the stakeholders, I have learned from my customers, internal customers, that what licenses are what especially in case of IT technology, what they are used for, what is the purpose for that, what could be the substitute, so that if I have to suggest some substitute, at least I have to understand that what requirement that is. So right now, a pen can be a computer can be a substitute for a pen also, because both are doing the writing thing. So I have to understand that why is he looking for a pen and why is not looking for a computer. Computer might not serve the purpose. Maybe he's looking for a pen to just sign the documents, which a computer can't do, or he wants to sign the physical documents. So I have to understand that what is the intent, what he wants to buy, and what is the purpose that he's buying for. So analytical bent of mind, very, very important.
Okay, so so what I've summarized, and Jaswinder, I'll come to you with a different question now, but then what I've summarized for our audience is that negotiation is a very essential part even today, and it remains and it will persist for the times to come. And I'd want to share a very beautiful story about my father. He's a psychology expert, right? And what happens is that when I was small, and this is a story that's very close to my heart. We'd go to a garden to pick fruits, right? And it was like a ritual for us that whenever we'd go to the garden, he would want me to leave some fruits for the birds, right? And once I was done, he would go and personally check almost all the time that whether I've left some fruits or not, right? And ultimately he stopped going towards the latter part. And even when I would return, he would make sure to ask me this question if I have left the fruits for the birds, and I would feel very complex. I wouldn't understand why do we waste the fruits. But then I realized that this was how he negotiated his entire life with his client, with his people who came for consulting or for any kind of help. This is how he negotiated his entire life, also while a diplomat, and then again later as an entrepreneur when he started his own business. So he knew that if you leave some fruits for the birds in turn will reward you, right? They are the ones that help pollinate your trees. Without the birds, you yourself will have less fruit, right? This is an important lesson. And that is how he would succeed in complex and contentious negotiation situations, because he made it a priority for the other side to have some fruit on the tree, something in this deal to make them a winner too, right? So that's, I think, a very important takeaway. And for the youth, this is an area to really focus on. And even today, when I see a lot of negotiation training, most of them are still focused on at the table counter tactics, right? So a good idea for as a takeaway from today's discussion should be that, like Amitava, you pointed out in the beginning, that given 6 hours to chop down a tree, we should spend 4 hours sharpening the axe, and this happens away from the table. Coming on to you, Jaswinder, I'd want to understand, see, we've now all discussed that this is e-procurement is a platform that is there to stay and will be forged in the future, and companies that do not adopt will perish, right, or will stay back. So my question to you is, if this is of that significance, what are the main procurement related challenges that are holding businesses back to go 100% digital, right? What is the most difficult aspect of e-procurement, and is it conceptual, or is it about more related to the perception of it, or are there technological or talent challenges?
Okay. So what I feel is, technological challenges are there, they are not there. Sufficient amount of tools are already available in the market.
So I'd repeat my question. I said, are there conceptual challenges? Are there challenges around perception? Or last one was technology and talent. You know, we humans, we have created far better things than we are capable to use or in fact understand. So that's my question.
Yeah, so I'm answering in the reverse. The last part is I'm answering first. I'm coming to the first part as well. So technology and talent is not a challenge, because today e-procurement tools are developed to such a stage that if you are able to do a ordering on Amazon, you are able to use a e-procurement tool. They are so simple to use, so to say. So technology and talent are not a challenge as far as adoption of these e-procurement tools are concerned. So it is majorly the bottleneck today. What I see is majorly onto the mindset and the adoption level at the organization level. So as you rightly said, there is no budget available for a procurement guy. They have to just spend. There is no special budget available for procurement to spend, and sometimes it become really difficult for a procurement professional to give ROI against what you are implementing. How to say that, okay, I am getting better quality suppliers by putting this tool in place. How do I quantify in terms of that? If I get better reports, I'll be able to deliver better. There is no mechanism to define those ROIs. At the management level, these decisions has to be taken. Unfortunately, where I come from, these decisions have been taken. When I take example of Tata Play, we have got all the tools implemented in our organization as we speak. We have got P2P tools, we have got RPA, we have got AI implemented, we have got Tableau implemented, we have got each and everything implemented. We use Catalog, we use everything. All available tools are being used. But when I see some other companies, and when I talk to my peer group, they say it become really difficult at a smaller organization level, that how to convince the management that putting this automated tool actually is helping me to reduce workload on myself. How will I justify that it will bring equivalent and higher amount of ROI by putting this tool? That is one big challenge that is coming from procurement professional to get those tools implemented in their organizations.
I'd want to, anybody can, if you'd want to present your views, Mahesh, Amitabh, anybody, I'd love to hear.
So let me do that resume.
Yes.
So one thing, though Jaswinder has summarized it well, it is mainly the intent. It is also the knowledge about the competing vendors in a particular product, because most of the procurement people, they have been used to buying a particular product from a particular vendor. They won't know that what other vendors can serve the same purpose. How do I bring those vendors into that? And when I have checked with in some companies, they had done the RFP 5 years back. After 5 years, they have not looked at any of the vendor. They just keep on going to the same vendor, tell them if you can give us some more discount, and they're happy doing that. Business is fine, they are fine.
I want to, you raised something very interesting. So is it something related to the country as a whole? See, I believe in India, we as a country, we are a very trust deficit country. We do not trust people. And that is why, and I have two people from Tata here, but then let me say this. That is why we have the concept of the umbrella company, right? Wherein if we trust one brand in one segment, we tend to trust that brand in every other segment, right? So we do not, it is a problem of trust. You're trying to point that out, that, for example, if Tata is making great cars, it is definite that if Tata comes down to sugar, it will have the same, it will maintain the same expertise and quality. It's how the customer segment is. So are you trying to say that this is the same feeling in B2B purchasing as well?
So Rizum, I will not say about India alone. So that's a global trend. People generally see the cost of error is too high, that you can't make a mistake, because we have our customers. I give you a simple example, that if I'm using a bandwidth from Tata, so I'll not take any of these examples. The guys who are sitting Tata Communication, let's say I'm using a bandwidth MPLS from Tata Communication, and I have to move to Verizon or Bharti. I will be thinking that what will happen if that does not work? What will happen to my customers? We have so much penalty. And then technical team, they are always more knowledgeable than procurement people. They will say, no, this will not work. I know that. I know from my past organization or that thing, it will not work. Because they want to be in the comfort factor, even they don't want to change. The cost of, as I said, that cost of change is too high. People are complacent, don't want to change. Nobody wants to take a risk unless this is driven from the top at their level. So it's a very, very important thing, the stakeholder engagement. working closely with the stakeholders. Building trust in the procurement function is very, very important thing, which I have learned over the years, that people need to trust you. Otherwise, they just think that, oh, these procurement people, they are just here for issuing the PO, and they won't know anything because they are buying thousands of things. They can't be as expert as we are. But now the trend is changing. A lot of people with product knowledge, with knowledge about the industry, they are joining the function, they are joining the procurement function. And myself, even I have a lot of experience in technology procurement, and I can buy any software, hardware, product, service, and I understand about everything. I understand the different technologies also, but that I have learned over the years. So we have to be very, very working very closely with the stakeholders, getting a blessing from the senior management, then only it will work. Otherwise, I have seen that different functions in an organization buying different products at different pricing, and that happens. I've done so much consolidation. I did a 1 year project for Unilever, which was to consolidate their procurement, and I did that project in 2020 for Unilever Global, sitting out of India, because they had multiple contracts ending at different times, no co-terming, no standardization. For a spend of about $200 million, they were using more than 100 vendors, which had to be brought to less than 10. That was the target. So it is there, but the blessing has to be from the top management, and then procurement people need to work very closely with the stakeholders and be a consultant to the business, to the stakeholders, that yeah, I know this category, I have done that, giving the assurance and winning their trust and building that confidence. Negotiation, of course, is very, very important. And so resume just 1 minute more. I did my, since we were asking about education, I did my CPSM in 2007. I did that from US because ISM was not in India that time. And that time I had to pay even $100 for my certificate to be shipped from US to India. So that was the thing about India at that time in 2007. I was, I think, 20th person in India to do that. ISM just sent me some communication. They just said that, and I could clear all the exams in 1 attempt. But that's not what I want to say. But now the trend is so much changed that ISM has an institute in Gurgaon in India, and they have a branch in India, and they are also offering that. And you are there. I think you were not there in at least in that time.
We entered in India back in 2011.
Okay, yeah, 2007. You were not there. Yeah, I not heard
that. In the US, yes.
Yes.
So I'll just take this statement from you, and I'll move on to Amitava. And my question to you is, as Sanjay pointed out, that there are some senior management challenges as well. So do you think that procurement challenges are holding businesses back because managements are yet to believe and consider that procurement is a center for profit?
Sorry, I couldn't get the.
Do you believe and support the statement that the transformation in procurement, the one of the most difficult aspect of e-procurement that is holding businesses back is because managements are yet to believe and consider procurement as a profit center?
Yeah. So, resume to answer to this question. I mean, I believe that this kind of a transformation can only be top down. If the CEO doesn't believe, that procurement is adding value to their bottom line, this will not work. It's always a, how do I put it, a crib from the procurement fraternity, that does the procurement head have a seat in the supervisory board of the company, or is it at the executive director level? So that is an important, very, very important aspect. Okay. But having said that, I strongly believe that all CEOs of current times in most of the industries have started believing that $1 value creation is actually creating the value in the bottom line. $1 saving in procurement is $1 more in the bottom line. And this belief that this has gone into the CEOs is currently driving the procurement function into the limelight of all organizations. And coupled with that, the supply chain. I mean, it is becoming one of the fundamental, strategic imperatives and a strategic lever for any organization to succeed. And if you look at this perspective from the e-procurement perspective, e-procurement space, it holds good true, to the last, word. See, at the end of the day, you can have a complete platform to do the transaction, but the goods have to reach physically to the customer. And that is what defines the success of an e-procurement platform. To the extent that not only the forward logistics, today e-procurement platforms like Amazon and Flipkart and others are actually, advertising about the easy reverse logistics than the forward logistics. They are advertising how easy it is to return the goods, because that thought is always in the mind of the customer that I'm seeing a picture and buying something. The look and feel is not there. When I get the look and feel, do I still need it or I want to return it? How easy it is to return if I want to return. So this is how the supply chain of today's times is becoming such a strategic lever for success for any organization, whether it is in the core industry or it is in the .com industry. So this is what I want to share with you, with everybody, that this is where the success lies for any organization in India.
Yes, you made me thinking. Mahesh, your views?
I agree. So it should be a top-down approach. I believe if there is a believe in the CEO level or CFO level that procurement organization can add value to the profit of the organization, then it makes a lot of change. But there are still such organizations I've seen in the past that organizations don't believe that procurement can add a value. There is a for process purpose, for the function purpose, or for the compliance purpose, they are putting the procurement as a function. There are still such organizations exist, but a lot of organizations have changed now, and there is a lot of change happening at the organization level and at the top management level, and they are treating procurement as one of the important function for adding the value to the profit of the organization. And top-down approach is something is coming up in all large organizations nowadays. What do you?
Resume, you're on mute, it looks like.
My bad. There was some system error. So, okay. I agree to what you've said, Mahesh, and then echoing what Amitava mentioned, I'd want to share a video of what we've done in terms of trying to, correct or at least trying to give a very optimistic push to the top management, right? It is a video of one of our recent clients that we have tried to build capability around has been the leadership team of Flipkart. Right. So I'd want to share very quickly what Samir, who's the global procurement director with Flipkart, what he said after he completed one of our session. And then after this, I'll frame a question to you again, Amitava, because this is coming from you. So very quickly for all of you.
It was really an insightful session. I think every day of it was making us learn something new. And the more important key thing is that when you enjoy what you're learning, the learning stays forever. I think this has been one of the best sessions I have attended in my 25 plus years of experience. And there's a lot to, you feel humbled because you think you know a lot. But when you come across sessions like this, it just reinvigorates and rekindles that joy of learning and wanting to keep learning and share it with the other team folks. So already we have given a feedback to our management team, and hopefully more people from Flipkart will be joining this session going forward. And I am quite sure and confident that they'll have a similar experience working and learning from it. Thank you once again.
You see, what we've done here is we have taken the top to bottom approach. Now, the person who's leading the procurement division came in along with 5 of his team members. He's now on a belief that procurement, and he's very optimistic and confident in communicating to other team members or to other departments that procurement is a center for profit, right? So, I'm not sure, Amitabh, this is to you, that would you agree that procurement departments, or we as procurement people, or as a department, we are very bad marketeers internally? Let me explain. What I've been made to believe that as a department, we do not market procurement inside the company. And often, this is the reason we do not enjoy a seat at the table. For example, you would see different pictures, different quotes, different slogans in the sales department. At the coffee area, salespeople putting in different banners that promotes and jacks up everybody else in the team. But procurement is nowhere seen inside a company. We do not yet cherish the idea of putting procurement or negotiations relevant quotes or cost saving quotes or quotes that inspire us as procurement team members. So we're not very good marketeers of our own department internally, right? So do you think we are ourselves responsible that we do not yet have convinced the management that we are, or at least we are perceived as a center of profit? Is it our own fault? Given the importance that we now have today as procurement, we are making an important contribution into competitive edge amongst the writing competition. And so your views on this?
Yeah, you set me thinking. Let me tell you why I'm saying so, Rizzo, that you are largely right, okay? When you say that we are not good marketeers and defining it as internally within the organization.
Yes.
Fundamentally, because, we don't say marketing and sales service, but we say procurement service. So we kind of define ourselves to be in the service industry. So whatever good we do, as it says in the service industry, whatever good we do is expected from us. But if we do anything wrong, as Sanjay rightly mentioned, the cost of error is very high. So it's very true that to a large extent, we as procurement leaders need to really open our eyes and try to market ourselves, to try to market our team within the organization, to show what kind of value we are, creating for the organization. And I'm very happy to say that within our organization, this is something which is, being, seen in a very, very significant way, I would say. The leadership team of the organization, starting from CEO himself, realizes what value the procurement team can add. So we do have a very strong, marketeer for us. That's the CEO himself. So in any meeting that he has, he kind of emphasizes this point. And that is how I believe that, we have been able to really transform our function to the best in class, or try to be the best in class. I mean, that best in class bar always keeps getting raised from day to day. But certainly, we are kind of trying to be there. So that's what I wanted to share.
I can believe, and in fact, not just Tata Steel, but why I feel this, because I've had conversation with almost all leaders from Tata groups, and I say this because almost all groups, Tata Coffee, Tata Steel, Jusco, uh, Tata Power, Tata Communications, all of them have sent their people to our CPSCM certification programs, whether it was live offline in Mumbai, or whether this happened virtually post the pandemic. So I know for a fact that Tata as a group is really giving a lot of push and elevating its own bar as far as procurement standards are concerned. Jaswinder, your views on this, please.
You are very right in saying so. So sales guys are
Whenever you say something bad about us as procurement people, everybody agrees.
see what happens. Sales guy have been flamboyant boys in the organization always, and traditionally for last excluding last 5-6 years, uh, the job of a supply chain guy was to type in, make some data, remain engrossed in non uh, fruitful things, so to say. But now it is very, very high time that we should all together uh, make a lot of noise within organizations, saying that yes, not only making them realize by virtue of giving them the results, but also speaking out that, look, we need to take supply chain and procurement to next level within all organization. If together we do it, it will become talk of the country, so to say, and we will definitely get it, especially now because, as Amitabh also said, that now is the time when organization have started to realize. I also mentioned that organizations are realizing that the only way to survive and sustain is cut cost, and we are the guys who are doing the cost, and this is the significant role that we are playing for the organization to make them float in these difficult times. So we definitely should get our visibility and our seat in the boardrooms, so to say, and our voices should be heard in the right fashion at that level.
100%. And in fact, I'd make this statement that up to 80% of revenue, earned by Fortune 500 companies goes directly back to procurement costs. And you've said that $1 savings equivalents $1. Let me rephrase this in a way that $1 savings in procurement costs can have the equivalent of $5 in revenue increase. And that is the comparison between what we do as procurement leaders and what sales does as a division by earning revenue, right? So, Sanjay, your views on this, and then we quickly move forward. And then even Mahesh, you want to hear a couple of comments.
Okay. So yes, everybody said that, and I echo the same, that so much so that, but this is changing. In 95, when I joined sales, even for the GT program, the graduate engineering training program in India, the best of the guys went to sales, as the company said that, and the people who were in the kind of lower side, or who did not perform very well in the 1.5 months of the training program, they went to procurement or materials function. That time it was materials function. They went to the materials function, and the flashy guys, they went to the sales. It is changing now. People from B schools, the top engineering schools, they are coming to procurement function. But yes, procurement is not as flamboyant as sales, and we are poor marketeers. Also, one more reason is there for that, other than that procurement people being that sales people being flashy. There's one more reason, that CEOs also understand. See, what we have spoken, some of us could become CEOs going forward. Procurement people, when I'm saying that, not the people on the screen, or including and but not limited to people on the screen. Some of procurement people could become the CEOs also going forward for many organizations. it is very difficult to define the savings also, calculate the savings also. Uh, Sometimes they say this is because of the industry trends, this is because of demand supply, and sometimes it is said that, oh, you have increased my cost. And it becomes very complex to just to tell that what has been the net impact of that, that how much savings we have been able to bring by virtue of our negotiation skills, and by virtue of analytical thinking, and by virtue of changing vendor, or by virtue of e-procurement. So it becomes difficult to quantify. And in many organizations, I've seen that the finance say, oh, okay, let me check that what you are saying is right, or what you are telling us is true or not. So finance, with their limited knowledge, they just apply there's some formula without thinking much that what goes into a procurement function. Procurement is a dynamic and strategic function, not a transactional function. So it can't be just like that. Yesterday my cost was X dollar. Now if it is X minus $10, if it is not X minus $10, then you have not done anything. We do the cost of avoidance. We sometimes, the our vendors, they have increased the pricing, but we have been able to increase the discounts for those categories. That happens very much in IT categories. Sometimes we have been able to that, okay, we have been able to give you additional value adds at no additional cost. So those are many of the things which we are again not able to prove, because sales is, as I said, that sales is a more flamboyant, and they just go that, oh, yesterday my turnover was 100 crore, now today is 110 crore. Oh, sales is the winner. But procurement is not able to say that, articulate it that well, which salespeople are able to do.
Sanjay, I would like to add in here that in during pandemic time, if you are able to get the material itself,
Yes.
was like a big achievement for a procurement guy. If you are able to secure the material, especially IT equipment, was a big achievement in altogether. Now you cannot define and quantify, and you cannot even say that I got the material, so it is an achievement. So,
Yes. And Jaswinder, just adding to that, the kind of delivery times for Cisco's kind of products have reached about 12 months, 8 to 12 months. And yeah, but we have been able to get the material in for 7 months, and say, okay, fine, yeah, we got in 7 months, but we got the material. So that's your job, to get the material.
for us,
Yeah.
just to let you know, for us, for our set-top box, delivery lead time is 58 weeks. It's more than a year.
Yeah, which is about 13 months. I said that close to 12 months. Yes, yeah.
I just want to add one thing. So probably resume what you pointed out, this question, why procurement people are not showcasing it. On the lighter note, salespeople are trained to showcase. The sale will go up on the side way, how they showcase or how they exhibit the product, or how exhibit the company. On the reverse side,
then I hope my message today reaches as many procurement people as it can, and it really sparks a kind of an impact.
Correct. But on the other side, so procurement people are trained to, or I personally feel that procurement person should listen more rather than speak more. Okay,
Yes.
so more he listen, he will understand it better, and he can react it better. So listening is most important than speaking. That's might be the probable reason these people are not showcasing much in the organization.
Yes.
And Mahesh, that's one training aspect of procurement, especially in procurement negotiation. Just listen, be quiet, just listen.
Yes.
Don't react.
I would like to add in here, one of the important trait a procurement guy needs to have in himself or herself is that we need to understand people. That's very, very important for a procurement guy. How to understand a person, their need, and engage and interact. That's the very key trick for us, because we need to engage with partners. We also need to engage with our internal stakeholders. The better we are able to manage people relationship, the better successful individual, better successful professional, better successful procurement person we become.
I would like to add one story here. So basically, this is a live case. So I was having one conversation with one of my colleagues, and there was one discussion we were having for one of the new product we were dealing with. And my colleague asked me, how can we come to know that what are the critical points, or what are the things that we need to know, while our internal stakeholders have explained us, but something that we should know on our own. And I said, the vendor will teach us. Then he was surprised. How vendor will teach you? See, likely whenever any sales guy come to you, he ensures that you know the product well. So he will explain you in detail about the product, correct? But then he asked me how he may feel that you don't know anything. This is something like there is a movie Dawn, correct? So he put a gun on the Helen's thing, and he shut her mouth. He says, बंदूक में गोली है या नहीं है मुझे पता है, आपको पता है, बट पुलिस को नहीं पता है. Like that. So the person who is coming to meet you or to discuss with you, he may not know that what you know and what you don't know. Correct? That is an opportunity for the procurement guy to learn the things and to get the knowledge. And that's where he can exhibit, and he can give the value add to the organization.
Yes. All right. So I'd move on to the next question, and I'd kind of stick to the chart now. Amitava, this question is for you. As e-procurement catches pace, how do you think what are the best practices for procurement to attract more and more suppliers who wants to do bulk business? Do you think these are the key is standardized forms, the process of evaluation? What are those couple of things that you'd want to kind of advise that will help procurement teams to attract more and more suppliers?
Yeah. So thanks, Rizum. So, while I have, limited knowledge of the industry related to e-procurement platforms, let's put it that way, because I've been from a core industry. But I will try to bring in the customer perspective of an e-procurement platform. Okay. And the customer, view when he gets into an e-procurement platform is to first understand that where is the backend supplier base, okay, and how transparent is it? Because that gives the customer a lot of confidence in, let us say, the kind of quality which is being shown on the platform, or the the delivery schedules, okay, which are being indicated in the platform, etc. Okay, so the e-procurement platform, I would get attracted to an e-procurement platform which actually gives this kind of transparency on the kind of suppliers, and also the logistics proximity from my location, as far as the supplier is concerned. The second part is, what is important to my understanding is, there is how many multiple choices do I have for the same product, okay? And that's where I think a success of an e-procurement platform would come in. That, let's say, for that particular product, do I have multiple choices from where I can pick up, okay? So which might interest me either from price perspective, or from delivery schedule perspective, or from the quality perspective, etc. Okay, so that's another aspect. And when it comes to the backend suppliers, to my understanding, and as a customer, I would expect that that an e-procurement company should do for their suppliers is to understand the, how do I put it, the reliability of their promise. Okay, if they promise something, how reliable is that supplier? And they should build their performance criteria primarily around that. And when I'm talking about promise, that promise should talk about both quality, cost, and delivery. Okay, and that reliability perspective. So, to my understanding, the assessment as we do is the starting point, but we should keep the supplier under monitor, okay, for a period, whatever the company may decide, okay, to see that what has been his promise and compliance to promise, okay, and that, to my mind, will bring in more and more footfalls and more customers and more business to any procurement platform. This is what limited, understanding I would like to bring into that query. Thanks. You are again on mute.
Yes, Mahesh, your views on the question, and particularly I'd want to add, do you think that bringing in e-procurement, it eases the process of evaluation, it reduces the time, and also the complexities are managed digitally, so these things will attract more and more suppliers? In a crux, will e-procurement better attract suppliers than what was done before?
Yeah, I agree. So e-procurement platform eases out the vendor registration, vendor evaluation, onboarding process, because it gives the leverage to the vendor to onboard on their own to the company platform. And earlier everything has to be collected manually, do the entries internally. Many times it was happening that the vendor were not supporting into giving all the documents. Now case that since it is an e-procurement platform, he knows that unless and until he fill the data, he fill the information in the e-procurement platform, he will not get the order. So he has to do the registration, and the hassle of the procurement people has gone down for the evaluation purpose. So definitely I strongly believe that e-procurement platform has eased out vendor evaluation process.
All right, Jaswinder, your views?
Yeah, so we have been using a couple of e-procurement companies for our our tail end spend. So I think it is a journey on which these guys are there. Most of the organizations are looking them for tail end spend of theirs. And slowly, when we realize that yes, it is bringing in value and it is actually easing out the hassles from the buyer's table, and it becoming consolidated uh, partner to go to for a lot of uh, unnecessary time consuming elements, and it is bringing value in terms of saving time for the procurement function, then we are looking at it at a very positive way. And we are trying to expand their reach as much as possible and try to see if we can put some really difficult procurement through them as well. So definitely it brings on the value. We are evaluating to expand them, and it is going to stay, and it will be another element is that when you go to these platforms, you definitely get value, because for you as a single organization, if you look at that particular category of spend, it is a very small. Even if 1% here and there will not go, is not going to make any big difference to you as the organization, because the total quantum of spend is so less. But when these platforms actually consolidate that particular category, then you tend to get a better pricing.
Perfect. Yes. Sanjay, your comments?
I will say that I have done many difficult product purchasing on e-procurement platform, either using my own vendors and bringing them on the e-procurement platform, or using the vendors from the e-procurement platform organization. One thing is very important, that I have to qualify the vendors. I have to ask all the relevant questions. I have to discuss all the standard terms and conditions before that. And then let's say I'm doing a reverse auction. I'm doing that. At that time, I'm not talking to the suppliers, because there are, let's say 5 suppliers are there. I'm not talking to any of them. No supplier will be able to call me, because that is not as per the compliance. then the suppliers have to take decision based on all the information which they had. That means all that homework has to be done before. The quotation format has to be right, which has to make sense. It can't be that it's vague, which is not understandable. In a face-to-face negotiation, I can just talk to the supplier. The supplier can ask me 10 questions and I can answer that question, and the supplier can give me a quote. Then he sends me a quote, which I say, this is not right. Then he revises the quote, again sends that. But again, the cost of error, again, I will say that it's too high in e-procurement also, because I have brought all my suppliers on one platform at the same time. Even my stakeholders might be watching that auction live, which is a trend now these days, that they like to watch that. At least 2 years back, they would like to watch that sitting in the boardroom or sitting in a conference room. And then all my suppliers are there. I have put all the efforts. The tool is there. The tool has been configured. So many people are supporting that. So many people, live people are there. Technical people are there who are supporting the tool at that time. That nothing should happen to the tool that time. So the cost is very high, and I have to make sure that everything is understood before I bring all the suppliers to the live event. That's very, very important. And all the preparation has to go like it goes into a normal RFP. The only difference here, it will be, this is more efficient, more transparent. The vendors can compete with each other. Vendors know that where they want to get the business, where they don't want to get the business, because in a normal RFP, they can just share one price. Here, they are seeing the live price and they can take a decision. And many cases, from the vendor side, even the salespeople and the finance people, they sit together and in a reverse auction, because they want to take the decision there and then. It is just going in front of you, whether you want to sell or not. So the cost of error again is too high. We have to do all that preparation before we go to that event.
Okay. So with that, I think we've covered pretty much all the questions. There's only one norm that I follow as a standard action from my end. Amitabh, I'd come on to you. This is what I ask usually to people I chat with. What is that one thing that you'd want our audience to start doing? And what is that one thing that you'd want procurement managers to stop doing as we progress towards the future? And we'd come on to everybody with their comments on this question.
So I guess it is more of a rapid fire question, and I should not, talk too much about,
Yeah, one-liner maybe, yes.
Yeah. So to my mind, a procurement professional in today's times should believe on more digital and analytics in taking their decision. Okay, that is something that the procurement manager should do more in today's times. What they should not do, in my opinion, is to probably, and I would look at it from a softer skills point of view. It's difficult at times for procurement professionals to believe that what they are thinking is right is not turning out to be right when it comes to algorithm output. And that is where is the dichotomy which comes into the procurement professional's mind. So to my understanding, they should not give full weightage only to their, feeling, or let's say to their gut, okay, as to what it should happen. But they should also not fully depend on algorithms. So that is where a balance, in my opinion, they should, kind of apply when it comes to such a dichotomy. That is what I would like to share with the procurement professionals of today. Thanks.
You're setting a stage for yet another very interesting topic, and that I would title as "Listen to the Algorithm." Right. So, but then again, we'd set up that some other day because this will be a very long conversation if I dive down. But Mahesh, over to you for your comments. One thing that you'd want people to start and one to stop.
I would extend the thought that Amitabh said. So basically, people should stop putting a logic on the information, or putting the logic on the things that is coming to them for a decision. they should stop putting the logic, and they should start getting the information as far as they get from the various vendors. They should stop thinking that this is the value that I can get. I cannot get below the value that is quoted by vendor. That mentality has to be stopped. They should dig on more and more and to get additional knowledge or additional information. Value, I said only for the namesake, but the information about that particular aspect that they are dealing should not be restricted to one or two vendors. They should go more and more deep to understand more. And most importantly, they should stop speaking much. They should listen more.
All right. Okay. Sanjay, over to you. Your comments, please.
Resume, though, that has been summarized. One thing this should stop is that being emotional about the decision. And I've seen that very much, that, oh, I'm giving a low pricing product or service to the stakeholder, to my internal customer, but he's not ready to switch. What is the reason that he's not able to switch, or he doesn't want to switch? So they just become too emotional about that. Yeah, sometimes it doesn't make to switch. It doesn't make sense to switch. It could be a business reason, it could be continuity reason, it could be technical reason, it could be various reasons which are involved. And sometimes this is tied back-to-back SLAs or other things which procurement may not be knowing. So not being too emotional about the thing, don't do that. Second, learn more and more about the products and services which one is buying. I have just interviewed few people for the rules, and I said that, okay, choose one category which you are passionate about, and we'll talk about that. Choose one product, not category, choose one product, and we will talk about only that product. He chose the product, and then I asked on the third question, he said, oh, this is too technical, I can't answer that. And I'm just talking on the one category that he chose. So this is just learn more and more about the product. What is the use? What are the alternates? Why we are buying that product? If you don't buy that product, what will happen? Where does that product go into my organization? Who uses that? Who does not use that? Take as much information as possible. Then only you become a consultative partner to the stakeholder, and the stakeholder will have trust in you, and he will start believing more in you. So learn more, and don't be too emotional about some decisions. They will happen the other way. Not everything will happen as per the numbers.
Bang on. Jaswinder, your closing comments.
Yeah, I think one important aspect for a procurement person is to learn as much as possible. So you never know, because by virtue of me working in very different category of industries, one thing will work in one industry, something else will work in some other industry. So as a procurement professional, keep learning and gaining knowledge around multiple different spectrum of products is very, very important. Somewhere or other, it will come and hit you somewhere that you want to buy this very unique thing. I have procured very, very unique things, including a helicopter ride in Mumbai, including a air balloon, helium air balloon floating across the country, and all very crazy things I have procured. If you have some knowledge about products and services and how things work at that point in time, they come very handy during your dealing with those partners, and at least have some, maybe not a very strong bullet, but some bullet in your gun, rather than having no bullet in your gun. That is a stronger position for you being there. So that is one thing I think we need to constantly keep. And as Amitabh said earlier, that the bar is getting raised every day for a procurement professional to be best in class. So since the bar is getting raised, so we also need to upskill ourselves at the same pace to catch up with the raising bar. That's very, very important thing we have to keep in mind, and constantly keep sharpening our axe.
Perfect. All right. So since we are running out of time, for all the people who've sent me questions, most of these questions we've covered, and the rest, we'd be sending out a blog wherein we pick each one of the relevant questions and answer. One particular question that I'm really interested to ask all of you is, there's this Vinayak Gupta who's sending out this question almost 26 times to me. He's asking, he's preparing for a role in procurement and is really confused. But given a chance that he prepares himself into a ready for job procurement talent, how many job openings does open every year in India? Any numbers, any estimates for Vinayak? Anybody?
See, unlike sales, there are very few procurement people in an organization. In Tata Steel, there's just one Amitava. There could be multiple sales people, but head of procurement is generally one in an organization. And there are few roles, but the roles are rotational. People do change the jobs, and more and more organizations are building the procurement function. I've seen many startups, even the technology startups, they are building the procurement function. They say that when we want to procure products and services, the companies which have by valuation become billion-dollar companies, and they are also creating the procurement function, which was unheard 4 or 5 years back. So I will not be able to talk about the exact numbers, but the numbers are much more than they used to be a few years back, and definitely much more. And the opportunities are much more. Right now, if I take an example, even contract lifecycle management, that's an independent role which is part of the procurement. That's an independent role which in an organization it is there. The tool is there. 2013, I deployed the tool first time. Before that, I had not heard about that tool, and now most of the organizations are having that tool, CLM, and this has become a big tool, like similar to ERP implementation, a mini ERP, we can say. So yes, there are enough opportunities. Just keep learning, as Jaswinder said. Keep learning about new products and services. Show your intent, show your passion, and yeah, jobs are aplenty.
Thank you. So anybody else would like to put on? Yes, Amitabh, any number? And again, these are, the question has been asked not for top leadership role, but then for beginners.
Yeah, so that was my first, query to understand at what stage of the career is Vinayak in. So if he's one in the beginning of his career, or in the first 5-7 years of his career, I would just ask him to go into either Naukri.com or Monster, that, what do you call that, that other company which is there, and you will see a long list of, job openings for a procurement professional. The reason being that, and if I may say, typically procurement function in proprietary companies, was kept very close to the proprietor's, desk, or within his, family circle and things like that. But now everybody is realizing that it is much beyond that. It's about handling professionally. It's about bringing in more skills in buying. So that is why in current times, you see a very large, I can't give a number as such, but you can go there and, and just type a few search words and see a long list of, job openings. Even corporates are going to, these sites and posting their requirements.
Yes. All right. So this calls for a survey, and we definitely do a survey to identify the number of openings that each year open up in procurement. Vinayak, as support, you can send us an email to careers@competitorsview.com, and we'll help you match a very good opportunity. We have plenty of them coming through our partners. The next questions that we have, we'd be sending out answers in the blog that we cover after this session. And I just want, as part of my closing comments, I'd want to highlight, and there's something I'd want to say, and it should be interesting. On March 25th, 2020, on the night of March 25th, 2020, when the country allowed a nationwide lockdown, I penned down a newsletter and I sent it out to 80,000 plus people in our community who are our active readers and subscribers. And I faced a lot of heat and backlash because the title of my newsletter, and I sent it out at 8 p.m. India time, and the title of my newsletter was Procurement Pros, Are You Sleeping? And a lot of people send out their responses saying that it's not the best way to communicate to procurement people. But my question to you remains the same, and my stand remains the same. Like it or not, there can be no doubt that procurement industry is going to change a lot from now. It is just begun to change the shape. All of us and most of us in the profession have landed here by accident. Agree or not, most of us are reporting to people who themselves came in here with an accident and do not understand procurement at eternal. And with it, when this fact, it heralds new operating models will come up in procurement, developing at very high accelerated speeds. Be ready to solve a lot of analytical problems and address digital issues that will start to come up. The future of technology, procurement technology, is ushering in intelligent cloud solutions, and it will not only alter your expertise, but it will also set the stage for all emerging technologies to collaborate with what you know. And in order to succeed in the future, CPOs and procurement leaders and their teams, they definitely need to adapt to the evolving procurement technology landscape. And it will become only more competitive. Top skills that we discussed today remains negotiation and negotiate away from the table. And as all of you agreed, and I'd want to close on this, listen to the algorithm. So, all right, thank you very much for your time today. All of you have been immense value to our audience. And we'd send out a blog and then hope we receive good comments on the blog as well. Thank you. Thank you, Amitava. Thank you, Mahesh. Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you. Thank you, Jaswinder.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rizwan. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
And all the best to the people who are watching this if they want a career in procurement.